Welcome to this webinar. My name is Peter Nordenbeck. I'm the CEO of Wennerström Use Control, WLK. And we are the agent for Tridonic and distributor for Nordic and Baltics. In our long cooperation with Tridonic, we're now happy to present a controller of state-of-the-art. We like to emphasize the easiness, its easy handling. It's a complete solution. It's capable of a lot of things like tunable white, human-centric lighting, shows, and more features. It's also compatible according to the DALI 2 protocol with third-party devices, input devices. And it can control both wired and wireless devices. And it's scalable from rooms to up to buildings size. Today's first presenter is Andreas Müller. He's the segment manager of Tridonic lighting controls, and he will take us through the details and dig into the details. And after Andreas, Henrik Svedstedt, the Vice President Sales of Wennerström, will talk about a reference project, how you can use the USPs of modern lighting systems. This is a live event and you are all muted and it's recorded. So we will put it available for after use after the webinar. If you have questions, you may go to the top of your screen and find a question mark icon. You hit on that icon and then you get a link, and please click on the link, and that link will open up a form where you type in your question. And please also put in your email address so we can come back to you after the webinar with the answer. In the end of the webinar, we will go through a few of these questions and have a little direct answers from Andreas. So we make that happen. But if you have questions after the webinar, please contact your local account manager or send your question to support@wlk.eu. So now it's time to hand over to the first presenter of today, Andreas Müller, Tridonic Segment Manager, Lighting Controls. So over to you, Andreas.
Peter, thanks a lot for the introduction and really a pleasure, and thanks a lot for the invitation to be here today in the webinar with you. I hope the audio connection is fine and I hope that you enjoy the next roughly around 1 hour, probably a bit more. We have a lot of new insights for you and a lot of new interesting products. For all of you that doesn't know me or that doesn't know Tridonic, we will have a short introduction also in my presentation afterwards. But the focus should be really about sceneCOM evo, as Peter already introduced the system, our quite new, freshly launched DALI 2 multi-channel control system, which will really be the highlight of my now upcoming presentation that we put together for you out there online. So just my second, I will start sharing my screen now. And here we go with the overview about our Tridonic controls, products and portfolio, and focus for today, our sceneCOM evo product lineup. But first I want to start, as already introduced, with a short overview and history. For all of you, if you doesn't know Tridonic, who we are, where are we located? As already said, my name is Andreas Müller. That's not a Nordic name. Yes, it's a very German name, but very important, not located in Germany. We are an Austrian-based company, founded 1956. And if you don't know, we are part of the Zumtobel group, but in the Zumtobel group, part of the, let's say, or we are the electronic components and also intelligent sensor part inside the Zumtobel group. So all LED drivers, or a lot of LED drivers, LED modules, boards, sensors, controllers. This is really the core business of Tridonic. And I think most of you will know us, at least from the drivers, from LED modules. That is really our main business. That is what we are famous and well known for. But we have also quite a big part of lighting controls, components, sensors, switch plates, big controllers, a lot of software apps and tools which really go into applications or also focus on luminaire manufacturing, handling, refurbishment, and also device error findings, recovery. So we have their very wide portfolio. And today the focus is really about light management systems, about automation of lighting. To give you a bit an introduction, how do we see that, in which direction those things are developing, what are the benefits, why doing that, and how we cover that with our premium flagship solution, the sceneCOM Evo. This will meet now the major part and later in the presentation. And as already introduced, we have a global footprint with services and partners locally, and WLK, as introduced by Peter, is really our biggest and strongest partners since decades now for the Nordics. Also well known there, so also our experts partner, and for you the first contact point would be then WLK in the Nordic countries of Europe. But now coming really to the meat or to the core points of our presentation today, I was thinking about how to start off, and for me it is always very important when talking about lighting controls. A lot of people are then always very complex, too complicated. Why do we really need that? And for me, there are some core aspects why automation of lighting and the light management system is really key, or is getting more and more important for the future. And yes, it shouldn't be like that the lighting system is the master or controls the entire room. The core value should always be, or the major thing to focus should always be the user. That is really the center, or should always be the central or centrified or centralized for the users and the people that are in the room and using the system. What we do with light, I mean, that starts with the very basic on-off solutions, with dimming solutions, and with color tuning, color temperature tuning. So that's not a rocket science, but as said before, from our point of view, you have the three possibilities when you talk about controlling light. It's on-off, it's dimming, and it's color tuning. And you can do that on an automated way or with a user interaction. And often the key thing to have a successful project, or to have a happy customer or happy users in the room, in a building, for me, the key thing there is to balance the automated routines in the light management system and also interaction from the people really using the room, using the lights in the room. I think you know more there, you know there even more about that than us, really being the technical guys, but you have there, I think, much more interaction with the end clients and the users in the room. But we try in our systems to cover, for sure, always those aspects, how to interact with our systems, like do we have support or devices for wall switches or switching plates? Do we have apps and software tools for mobile or for the computer? Do we have infrared remote or remote controls for our systems? That we have in different flavors and in different tiers. So on the interaction side, we have a lot of solutions, because from my point of view, that is one of the most important things, even when you have an automated system, that the people in the room that use the system can still override or adjust the lighting behavior according to their wishes. Not that the automation rules the people, it should be the other way around, that the people can always overrule also the automation in the background. For sure, very important automation, because that is bringing, let's say, the whole intelligence into your lighting system, and that really delivers then the benefits of tunable white luminaires, sensors, time-based features and functionality. I have there a lot of details later, but that is then for me the automation part in the system, and that depends always on the requirements you have in your building, in your project, or for your client. If you need a simple sensor solution like displayed up here, that is already good enough for a project, and it's just an on-off sensor or a dimming sensor. Or should it really be something advanced, like human-centric lighting that optimizes the circadian rhythm with different color temperatures and dimming levels over the time, over the day, over the year? There we also have solutions for such applications that are automated, can be overruled or even adjusted by the customers. Or is it, again, a simple setup like working with groups and scenes in an open space office, so that you just illuminate really the levels that read more illumination than others in an open space office? That's also for sure possible with our solutions. And there, our slogan at Tridonic is there always really the right light on the point where it's needed and only when it's needed. That is a bit our core message, that we try to bring all this to the people. And when we are developing systems or solutions, we also want to follow these guidelines here. And also very important, when you have an installation done and the system is running, I think you also know it, the system can be quite complex, and especially when it comes then to errors, like there's a failure with an LED board or with a driver, or a complete luminaire is going down. Okay, how to do that? Does always a facility manager or somebody in the building needs to get a ladder or something, go up to the luminaire and check it, what is going on, or can that be done remotely via a wireless connection, via a DALI connection, or via an internet connection? So also one of the key things when talking about a light management system and lighting controls, not to forget always this, we call it the maintenance or monitoring and maintenance part. So also that you have interfaces, tools, apps, software that connect to the systems, and where you see status, errors and collections, because this is then really helping during the lifetime to keep the system on an optimized level. And also when there are failures or outages or problems, to identify those problems rather quickly and then to fix it, to bring back the system to a comfortable level or comfortable behavior, like the people want to have it in a building or in a room. This brings me now already to the next slide, when always talking about, okay, from our point of view, who is benefiting from a lighting controls installation from a light management system? On the one side, it's for sure the people using the room, using the spaces in buildings, or also outside when talking about outdoor controls. That is for me very important. The people, why we do lighting. I mean, first of all, for sure, lighting is a very big safety topic. When it's dark, doesn't matter if it's really when it's in the night on a corridor, in a stair house, or when it's in underground parking or somewhere at the railway station with big underground areas and spaces. Lighting has a huge impact on the safety, not only on the real safety, so that nothing is happening from criminal intentions or criminal backgrounds, but also from the perceived safety of the people moving there, using spaces. It's much more better perceived, and people are feeling much more safe when there's just bright illuminated places, which would normally be dark. And that goes already into the next one, really, that well-being, how the people are feeling in an area, in a space, for sure directly relates to all the topics with color, temperature, brightness level, and it's really now then ending up and coming to the peak when talking about the human-centric lighting. So really time-based automation that is controlling dimming levels and color temperatures according to the needs and the time schedulers behind, which also has an influence or can have an influence on the performance of office workers, or even somewhere in production or in production halls or maintenance things. There also for the well-being, we have solutions with human-centric lighting. And that's things which have a direct impact on the people that are working in buildings or spaces. And for sure, most important thing from my point of view, when talking about the comfort in an artificially illuminated zone. Yes, I mean, I think you are the more expert than me. When you have an illumination or luminaires or lights that have too bright output or are too bright, it is really uncomfortable to work below them. For example, like here in our office, it is for me personally already a bit too cozy, the whole atmosphere to work here. But yeah, something we should improve over the time. So really the three key things for people that are working and using illuminated spaces, why to use lighting controls and light management systems. The key points there from Tridonic point of view it's all about safety, well-being and comfort, to improve those 3 points, so that really the people using spaces are doing much more or feeling much more comfortable and really getting there the right atmosphere through illumination in the areas and in the buildings. And lighting controls and light management systems for sure also have let's say an impact on the business, on the money side, when it really comes to the point of sustainability, so energy, consumption reduction through sensors, through automated turn-off, through automated dimming, so that only really the light level, which is really the artificial light level that is really needed in a room, is coming from the luminaires, and not just a fixed defined or fixed output luminaires used. Their lighting controls can have a big impact. That leads directly to cost optimization. On the one side for the energy investments, but also for the on the other hand for cost optimization when it comes in regards to the maintenance and monitoring, what I showed before. When you have, for example, remote access to a system, which is possible with parts of our solutions, there you can have a remote system via a web interface. When there are outages or failures in an installation in a building, you can check it with our web-based systems already up front before going there and having a local look on the devices, what is not working. And yes, another very big point, which also goes into the cost optimization, when you have a bigger building and a centrally controlled light management system or lighting controls installation, when you rearrange rooms or you have open space offices that are getting cut into smaller rooms or smaller areas, there you have the complete flexibility. When you have a bus system installed like DALI 2, with how to rearrange the scenes, the groups, and whatever you want to do then in that spaces or in the adopted spaces, with the right control system, you have there a lot of flexibility. Partly can even be done by non-expert users. Slight or small adjustments can even be done with our simple apps that we provide. So probably you have then in your installation really also in cost optimization, because you do not even need an expensive commissioning expert when you just rearrange some rooms or luminaires in your open space office. And also very important, transparency. Again, when you have a central control system, you really have the transparency about what is going on in your building, which luminaires are on which level, or how you get the central reporting. So again, placing back into that operational mode, like the monitoring and remote, on the remote monitoring and maintenance, that helps a lot when you have really centralized systems to also optimize your financial footprint of buildings, when you have, for example, a centralized facility management team somewhere around. So really, it is very important that we say, yes, lighting controls is not only delivering benefits on the business side with energy reduction and, let's say, a much more optimized way of how to use luminaires. It for sure also brings benefits to the people in the room using the rooms and the spaces with a lot of features and functionality that we bring there with our different products that we have. Now, really, when coming down to applications, our three major applications at Tridonic for lighting controls. For sure, I think you know about that, or you sure also see it like we did, that one of the major use cases and one of the main applications for lighting controls is for sure in office and education buildings and applications, where it's really all about bringing the right light in the right places, in the right amount of light. It's about well-being there, and here it's really about also when, just very logic, if you are in a university or in a school, if you had bad light there, yes, that has a direct impact, because we really spend most of our time during the day either at our working place or in a school when you are younger. I mean, that's proven by a lot of research studies. So, and that's also one of the key reasons why we say the whole office and education applications are one of our core target markets for lighting controls, and also a lot of our use cases and features are directly addressing problems or challenges that we get back from those customers active in office and education applications. Where we also have later some really much more insights is controls and illumination in health applications. Here it's also really about that well-being and enabling comfort in hospitals, in elderly care centers, in such installations, because here also the positive things and all the benefits of a tunable light installation with a circadian rhythm-based control system, which really has a direct impact on the body's melatonin behavior and level. Here, it really brings a lot of benefits when there are people that have issues with their health or sick people, where it's really also proven that controlling light levels and illumination levels, and especially the color temperature in the right way, can have a direct impact on the people in a hospital or in an elderly care center. But don't want to spoil that, because Henrik from WLK has afterwards some great insights from real projects that were done by WLK in the past, in those areas in health applications. And last but not least, where also lighting controls can have a huge impact through, again, the right dim levels, the right colors, also when it's a bit a more fancy store or more flagship store, like with lighting animations, RGB shows, really highlighting products in a store, in a supermarket, so really in the retail applications. There, it's also, the lighting is there becoming much more important than it was, for example, in the past, when it was only about track lighting with on-off, and that's it. Here also, with the controls solutions that we have, we can make that stores much more comfortable and much more, let's say, attractive, and able to really also highlight products in a store in a much more easier way to adopt for the retailers, for example. So when they change, for example, some boxes or closes in a shelf, or something on a table to present, there we also have now, with the possibility of all our app-based solutions or software solutions that we have, the stores, the retailers, the chains, they can now pretty easily adjust the lighting in their shops rather simple compared to the past, to also adjust, let's say, some spotlights or downlights which they have in shops to really highlight and brighten new areas when they change the shop design, for example, or when they bring in new collections that they want to highlight. Also here we have now great solutions, and also we see there more and more the trend in retail that the retailers are step by step slowly going away from the just very simple on-off tracks to, yes, also with single luminaires on the tracks that are then really controllable, tunable, to really highlight and get a much more better feeling and atmosphere into their shops. And yeah, this is a short summary when talking about Tridonic solutions. From my point of view, really as the segment manager, so I'm here responsible for defining and getting our control solution out to the market with my team. For me, a key thing is that our control solutions are really adaptable, so that it's not a one-time installed and then it is automated and is just doing that automation. That was a bit like the old approach in the past. For me, it is very, very important that even when a system is installed, that in an ideal world, even an end customer can partly adopt or adjust his luminaires, his sensors, the behavior of his system. And so really that we have adaptable solutions which really can be changed according to the needs of the customer on site during the project or during the installation, and partly even afterwards. And with that, when we say, yes, we want to even make end users able to work with our system, key thing is that we really have this easy to use approach. So during commissioning, during the usage of the system, during failure finding, identification, searching, it is very important there that one of the key goals that we're looking for, that we try to have a flexible system, which again is adaptable, and through that comes then a lot of easiness when planning, and so preparing and planning a system. There we want to have it really on a simplified level, or make it really simple for planners out there. And with our, let's say, approach that we want to have either an app or a web interface for our systems, we want to have a very intuitive way of doing commissioning, setup, changes on a system. So going away from, you always need to have special computer tools, which you need special drivers or special hardware for doing a commissioning or configuration change on a system. No, from our point of view, it is really the only thing what you need is a tablet or a computer, and there you need a browser or the app on the tablet to do the commissioning, the setup, the configuration of one of our controls system. And also the easy to use goes already partly into the next one when we say, yes, we are, or we have a concept that we are very open with our system. We're following standards like we are compatible with DALI 2. We are partly compatible with the Kazambi system, what brings a big benefit in the easy to use, because we adopt to widely used and widely spread standards in the industry, with the one goal that we say, yes, our system should be easy to use during planning, commissioning, and afterwards by the end users during usage. But our system is also very important goal from myself, that our systems are extendable. So with DALI 2 devices, not only from Tridonic, but also from third-party vendors like external vendors, or with our easy to integrate wireless solutions to bring DALI 2 and wireless together, we really want to make sure that when you buy a Tridonic system today, it fits for your requirements today perfectly. But when you have then in 5 years a new requirement, for example, you are renting additional parts in a building for your office, or you're really expanding your building with a new floor or with a side building, yes, there we want to make sure that it's not like, okay, the new system and the system for the new building and the system for the old building are not compatible with each other. Our goal is there really to have that compatibility covered by, let's say, a DALI 2 or a wireless level, so that you can really say, even in 5 years, or yeah, you install the DALI 2 system 5 years back, but even when you install then a DALI 2 luminaire in 5 years, that is still manageable and controllable with the old system. Or the other way around, you have some new sensors, new things in, yes, when they are compatible with the wireless or with the DALI world, we can still manage them. So very important for me that the systems are extendable, not only by devices and other technology, but also to make sure we have that in the future, still not lock into one technology or one vendor, as we really stick there to standards and want to be open there also for the future, to have that, let's say, that backward compatibility to our systems really out there in the field, because that's a huge topic from my side when talking about systems that should last for the next 10, 15 years in a building in an ideal way. Okay, so I talked now a lot about the different systems and what we can do at Tridonic. Don't be afraid of this slide here. This is really just an overview from our, let's say, highlight systems. And for you, if you're looking for a control solution and you don't know what, this is a bit, let's say, your first contact point when it comes to Tridonic control solution, because here we really try to separate from an application size. Is a solution for a single luminaire, for a single room, for multiple rooms? Is it a floor-based solution, a solution which requires to control the luminaires on an entire floor? Or is it really a solution that should control an entire building, so a building-wide light management system? And here, what should the solution do in regards of functionality or complexity? Is it just an on-off? Is it just an on-off solution, a dimming solution? Is color tuning needed? Do you need groups or remote management? And with the degree of automation, is it really just an automation, a sensor-based automation, like in light on demand? Or is it really about dynamic lighting, so time-based schedulers that control your light? Or do you need an if this and that? So if you have, or if you want to set conditions between your scenes and groups and sensors and luminaires. So this is a bit the solution matrix that we have for you. When you work on a project and you need a control solution, you can make now a screenshot or wait until we share this slide and afterwards with you and the whole slide deck. But really, when starting with the simplest solution that we have at Tridonic, that is our radar-based smart switch solution, single luminaire solution, which is doing just on-off with a light on demand thing. And that is, let's say, our entry point into control solution. Then we have a lot of other versions when it comes to sensor-based solutions for single rooms, like a small office or a small meeting room, where we have tons of form factors, low bay, mid bay, high bay, so really ranging from 2 to 3 meters installation height up to maximum 60 meters installation height with IP protected luminaire integration, surface mount, and all the different options. And here it's already a bit more than just on-off, because we have dimming, grouping partly. We can do direct, indirect soon when you have A luminaire with a direct or indirect part can be controlled with one sensor. So that is already a bit more advanced, a dimming solution. And here with sceneCOM S, we already start into our DALI 2 lineup, where sceneCOM S is our, let's say, smallest DALI 2 system, which already comes with a color tuning functionality integrated and has a lot, let's say, a lot more, let's say, or much more advanced features than the ILD Gen 2, where the application controller is directly in the sensor. Here, a dedicated device is really controlling then a lot of sensors. So that is then already the next step when it comes to complexity and size of a system, where sceneCOM S can now manage one big room or already multiple room or an open office area with, for example, up to 64 luminaires and around 16 sensors. That's already no problem for sceneCOM S as a controller. And we also have our wireless solution, our BACDIM wireless solution, with which comes again in different devices, different form factors for really LED driver integrated communication modules with strain relief, with integrated DALI power supply, without DALI power supply, in-track devices. So here we have a lot of devices that has already the wireless parts integrated directly in the units. So all those components that normally go into a luminaire make then a luminaire completely wireless, offering all the features that come with that. Like again here, shows, automation is now available here, can be time-based features, a scheduler, a human-centric lighting show that acts according to the circadian rhythm curve, can be adjusted, scenes, groups, simpler if this then that routines, that is possible here with BACDIM wireless. And with sceneCOM Evo, that is then really our solution for big installations, entire buildings, multiple buildings. Here we have sceneCOM Evo in our portfolio, which is again offering more or less everything that is around when it comes to light management systems, to lighting, automation, from human-centric, from emergency, single battery controlled report handling, event triggering. We have a logbook and error book so that we really see over the time where there are problems in the field with LED drivers, with the LED boards, and we are actually implementing all the E4I and DALI, the new extended DALI information, the DALI parts 251, 254, when you really get then information about the luminaire, under voltage, over voltage, how is the driver acting, what was programmed there. That is all now coming into our sceneCOM Evo lineup. And you will also see a bit later what I explained before under the name of our systems are adaptable and extendable. That, for example, you can bring sceneCOM S and our BACDIM wireless together via device, and you can also link BACDIM wireless and sceneCOM Evo together. I explained that a bit more in detail, because now I really want to go into a deep dive with you when talking about sceneCOM Evo, what is really, let's say, the core part of this webinar today, together from Tridonic and WLK today, your local partner for all the sceneCOM Evo. If there is interest for you out there, then we have there our expert partners at WLK. Please reach out to them or ask now your questions in the chat, and we try to answer them at the end of the session. But now I would really like to please you to lean back and now enjoy the new details and the new highlights about our just in April freshly launched sceneCOM Evo multi-channel DALI 2 controller. So in very general, what is this all about when talking about the sceneCOM Evo system? I wanted to explain it this year briefly with this overview slide here, when really starting with the system structure. So how is a sceneCOM Evo system looking when it goes out somewhere into a project, into a building? This here, this white box, this is the sceneCOM Evo controller, where really everything from the light management system is integrated. We have here our DALI lines, we have a Ethernet connection, so it can be connected to a local network. It has an integrated web server, so sceneCOM Evo is then connected to a network or directly from a computer, and then the commissioning is done from a computer. The DALI channels, so each of the 3 DALI channels has an integrated DALI power supply that's in the hardware included, giving you 200 milliampere per channel. It's a DALI 2 certified devices. So this is really the starting point, the core device, that's the sceneCOM evo controller. And then via DALI, you can then connect luminaires, drivers, well, whatever is out there, because we support the DT6, DT8, so standard luminaires on, off, and dimming, but also tunable white luminaires with DT8 can be connected and are compatible with our sceneCOM evo. You can also connect DALI 2 sensors and ED sensors from Tridonic. So our already some years older DGC sensors are also compatible with sceneCOM evo and the complete lineup of our newly DALI 2 sensors. Those devices are compatible with sceneCOM evo, and also push button interfaces, buttons that are according to the DALI 2 specification can also be directly connected to one of the 3 DALI lines. So that's really, let's say, all DALI 2 wired devices can be connected to sceneCOM evo when they are really DALI 2 compatible and listed on the DALI 2 website. And also what I explain you a bit later in detail, how we also bridge BACDIM wireless devices to sceneCOM evo, so that even Bluetooth-based wireless devices, our BACDIM wireless portfolio, can be connected to sceneCOM evo and managed from a sceneCOM evo. That I will show you a bit later in detail. And also very important, as I said in the beginning, sceneCOM evo is our platform, our lineup for really big scale installations with a complete building to manage. And there, as said, also sceneCOM evo has an integrated Ethernet interface, and with this Ethernet interface, you can link at the moment up to 5 controllers together. So 5 sceneCOM evos can be linked together via the web interface, acting then as, we call it, one cluster of controllers, and that really gives you the possibility to have at the moment a maximum of 15 DALI lines available in your building, what is roughly around 1,000 luminaires to connect and sensors on top of that through the DALI 2 implementation that we have available. And now one of the huge benefits that I already mentioned before, the whole commissioning, monitoring, and operation of the system is happening via the integrated web interface on the sceneCOM evo controllers. So the only thing you need to access the sceneCOM evo and to start the commissioning, or as a user, if you want to change the lighting behavior of your group under which your desk is in the office, you just need a device with a Chrome browser. You access the sceneCOM evo web interface, and then you have here this app-style user interface where you can click through, and then really, if you have the user access, you can do the commissioning, you can change much more system settings, or when you are a standard user, you can just adapt or do the dimming of the luminaires that you have the access rights to, that you all do via the web interface. So that's very important, that you don't need any special software for commissioning, for operation, or for monitoring, or for using the system. No, this is at the moment all done via the integrated web server that comes directly with the sceneCOM evo controller. And on top, so no, not on top, but in parallel to the web interface, also using the IP, the Ethernet IP connection that we have there a BACnet IP interface also available. So if a sceneCOM evo installation should be connected to a building management system for, again, sharing data from sensors to the building management system, or the other way around, if it's a SCADA system, like a building-wide control system for the heating, the ventilation, the air conditioning, the elevators, the sprinkler alarms, a lot of those systems also have a BACnet interface, and then we can directly exchange data from the light management system to the building management system or to other systems, or the other way around, that the external systems can also send data or partly also control our sceneCOM evo systems. That is all available via the integrated BACnet interface. And what we also have available, or what we will bring now in the next few weeks, is a REST and an MQTT API, where you can also publish and use data generated from luminaires, from devices in the field and also from the system. And we can publish those data via the APIs to more IT-driven partners or software things, like when you have, for example, an own visualization software that just wants to reflect the luminaire status on a touch panel somewhere on a wall or to a KNX interface, for example, then you can use the REST API or the MQTT API and do this visualization, for example, by yourself or with your preferred partner, but still using the automation and the benefits of the sceneCOM evo controllers in the background. But the data you can then aggregate, use, and then also control or display in another way you want. And that can be or could be cloud solutions, could be visualization options and apps which are really out there on the market. But with this, we really want to get there much more flexible and much more open for the future. Okay, this was it now in short to the system structure, how a sceneCOM evo system looks like. And it is also, and if you have a bigger installation, it is also very important that, for example, you can, as said before, you can link 5 sceneCOM evo controllers together to one sceneCOM evo cluster. And if you have really a big installation, a big building, it is for sure also possible that you do a bit a trick and even make a bigger light installation by using a building management system, for example, so that when you have really a big system that wants to have a central on-off or a central energy reporting or central error handling or logging, it is for sure possible that you set up multiple of those sceneCOM evo clusters with 5 controllers per cluster. You set up multiple of those clusters, like one here, and then you bring the devices and all the information together via BMS. I mean, that is then really projects which are then quite big, but I have also later a reference project where we did exactly something like that for a very big project in Italy. And now what is really coming back to the points I mentioned below, when I say, okay, easy to adopt, it is one of our core message, how we want to do that with sceneCOM evo. Very important for me, why we have this sceneCOM evo clusters in the background. That is a very important aspect from my side, that we say, yes, our systems are quite adaptable in the system size. On the one side with the controller linking, when we link controllers together to clusters with up to 5, and then again, sharing the information via REST API or via BACnet interface with higher scale systems, we can really have a lot of such clusters running in parallel in buildings, controlling up to thousands of luminaires or even 10,000 of luminaires. So it's very important for me that our system is really scalable and also adaptable in system size, because you can have a smaller project where 1 or 2 controller is fairly enough for the whole installation. It does the job, it's perfect fit there. Or it can really go up to several thousand luminaires in buildings that needs to have a central operations center, and below that, from the central operations center, they can then access the single controllers if there are errors or failures or whatever. They can then access the single controllers or the clusters via the integrated web interface, really as always, just by one click, even when the BMS is capable of doing that, even partly directly out of the BMS system. So it's really a great system that is really adaptable in the size. And what is also important for me, that we have a lot of adaptable features and functions, because we have this so-called app concept in our system, so that the system comes with partly pre-installed and pre-activated apps, so that you get, let's say, a basic feature bundle with each and every sceneCOM evo controller. But on top of that, we have then software licenses or software licenses that can really expand the functionality of your system, of a sceneCOM evo system, always what is really depending on what is really needed in an installation, in a project. For example, we have quite an advanced emergency handling and reporting routines and functionality in our sceneCOM evo, but that is, I think you know it, most likely or most often only used by around 15–20% of the project. So only, let's say, 15% of our customers, and only those customers and projects that really want to have the emergency features activated, they get the emergency license for the system, they activate the emergency feature, then they can configure all the testing times, the reports, and all the things. In the emergency functionality for the other users, it is like shown here in the screenshot, just grayed out. They don't need to take care. They don't get annoyed during the commissioning with all the tons of features that are in the system, because that's really one of our aim, that we make our system so smart that really out of this combination, how big is your system and what features do you need in the system? Okay, only that you really order them from Tridonic or from WLK as our partner in your region, and so that you really have hopefully the perfect match for your project when it really comes to the system size that is needed and the features that are needed in a project. And when talking about really the apps and the apps concept, I want to bring you and show you here some of the apps and some highlights, what we have in the system, what we do also partly different than other control systems that are out on the market, really with the pre-installed apps and also with the extendable apps that we offer and that we have available for our system. I mean, we start with some basics like a presence linking, but we are already in our core package, in the base package. Our presence linking is not just a simple yes, presence there, turn the luminaires on. We have there already quite some really advanced features when it comes to presence detection, because with the integrated calendar and time-based functionality, with our standard presence functionality, the starting point is for sure, yes, you have a sensor, it reacts to presence detection, it turns on the light. But with our calendars and features, you can then already say, okay, should the light then be depending on twilight or time of the day, or is it really about which time of the day it is? Is it in the morning or is it in the evening? Because in the automation in the system, you can already say, okay, when there is light detected during the day, take something like that here. It's an office. During the day, when there is presence detected, the luminaires go to a comfortable level, which was set during the commissioning. But for example, when at 8 o'clock in the evening or after 10 o'clock in the evening, light is detected, the system or the calendar, or according to the calendar, that is normally the cleaning team, and then the light goes to full brightness because the facility management cleaning team, yes, they want to have really full light in the installation, and then such things are possible with our system. Really already in the simplest presence linking mode, or also, let's say, exceptions calendar. So again, when it's a school or an office building, that, for example, you can put the holiday calendar in the system, and then also say there, even when there's presence detected, should all luminaires go to full brightness or every second one, or work with special scenes. That is already all possible in the integrated presence linking mode, how we call it, or in the presence linking app, how we call it in the system. And again, one of the highlights of our already the basic package, or the starting package for sceneCOM Evo, that are conditional scene calls. That's also something what I already mentioned before or highlighted before. Conditional scenes, there you can really put an automation together. That you create, for example, a scene where you say 50% light level, 100% light level, and then you can define in the system, for example, you have an office space with multiple rooms or with multiple single offices, but one central corridor. And with our combinations and the conditions to set there, you can say, okay, either based on the time or again the day of the week, you could say when there is still presence detected in one of the single offices on that floor, in the corridor should always be a light on. So the condition for the luminaires on the corridor, if there is presence in one of the offices, there should be light in the corridor, and only if there is no presence in the corridor detected and no presence in all the single offices, then, for example, corridor plus offices can shut down the luminaires. So there you can really set a lot of quite advanced things with such simple if this then that conditions and linking. And those if this then that conditions can be based on the days, or again calendar, can be time based. You can link scenes with each other, like okay, my luminaires on the window row go to this level. What should happen with the luminaires on the wall side in a room? Or when the color temperature of those luminaires is changed to a colder mode or to cooler color temperatures automatically. When you have an open space office, the ambient light should also go down to a cooler color temperature. All those things you can do with the conditional scenes. Or also you can set twilight-based conditions or conditions when you say on my geographical position of the installations, it's sunset and sundown calculated. So really tons of things you can do with those conditional scene recall settings. And that already comes in the pre-installed basic version package of sceneCOM Evo. Then we have for sure a lot of, let's say, standard features in, like we can work with scenes in there, like explained before. We have a user management integrated so that you can really say, okay, my user Andreas can control this and that groups in an installation, but for example, I cannot control the groups and the luminaires from the floor above me or from the next room. Such things can be done in the user management. And again, how to make the work on site hopefully easy. We have there features like an installation test. That's the feature like, okay, you connect all luminaires, all sensors to the DALI line, then you power on the entire circle, and then the sceneCOM Evo can run through a quick test to really check if the wiring was done, if all luminaires are connected according to planning. Really having some quite cool features for installers and commissioners, hopefully to help them not to waste a lot of time on site while doing the installation. And one of the coolest things we have there is the addressing wizard, where we really want to, where we have routines and logics installed in the web interface in our wizard that should make the commissioning and the setup of a DALI system really, really easy, with hopefully not bringing back all those DALI short arrest group things in a used way, but really in a way how it is very intuitive for users, how to set up a system with room, groups, devices, sensors, and that's it then. That's all then done and handled in the background by the wizard. And what we also have here, then as an extension, sorry for that. So those packages, those software features, they come really with pre-installed with every sceneCOM Evo. And on the right side, the extendable features and functions, those come then with a license key, where a license key needs to be ordered at WLK, where one feature is then when you want to have sensors, when you want to have luminaires that are controlled based on the daylight out there, measured by a sensor. When you have emergency luminaires, you can buy their licenses for 20, 50, 100 emergency luminaire per sceneCOM Evo controller. We have there also the possibility or an app to create special luminaires, where special luminaires needs a bit some explanation. In special luminaires, you can, let's say, group drivers or physical luminaires virtually together. So for example, when you have a luminaire with a direct part and an indirect part going to the ceiling, on a standard DALI system that is recognized as two DALI addresses, DALI address, I don't know, 16 goes direct into the room, and DALI address 73 goes indirect to the ceiling. With our special luminaires, you can make the one virtual luminaire out of that and then really control and balance that direct indirect part only with one slider. So again, a very easy to use and adaptive feature, which really makes the use of such direct indirect luminaires much more comfortable for end users. And what is also a very advanced feature from our system is we call it dynamic light scenes or dynamic shows. That's a very cool feature exactly for such use cases when you have human-centric lighting and want to follow the circadian cycle over the day, or want to influence that with the color temperature, with the intensity. That is completely adaptable and can be set up according to your project, or we have some pre-configured templates in the system which can be used when you just want to start off with, let's say, such a standard curve. And also very important here, we can also take into consideration, like explained before, the conditional scenes, that we take the geographical position of a project into consideration to stretch or squeeze such a human-centric lighting or such a circadian rhythm curve over the year, really always based on the sunset and sundown of your physical location. And also part of these dynamic lighting scenes are animations. So when you have, for example, luminaires that come with RGB parts or LED boards, yes, such things we can also handle and then run such fancy shows for bars, for restaurants, for entrance areas in shops or in offices or entrance halls in museums. There we can do then also such RGB shows and dynamic scenes with our system. So that was it in short about lighting scenes. What is also an extendable software license is the whole BACnet and API topic, so really making the connection to external system. And as you can imagine, the system is growing, the system is extended over the time. A lot of things are upcoming here. Just for your information, as stated at the very beginning, all those DALI 2 data topics coming from the D4i Loom data are now the next thing that will be integrated to really read out data from the devices and process them then also on our sceneCOM controllers. So that was it in very short about the features and functionality. Another very important part that I want to show you when it comes to the point of wireless integration, what I explained you also at the beginning, where I said, okay, sceneCOM Evo per definition is a DALI 2 system, so 3 DALI lines, push button plates, push button couplers, DALI 2 sensors, DALI 2 drivers, LED module. I mean, that's the standard DALI 2 world. I think you're aware of that. But what is now really very cool, that we can bridge from the BACDIM wireless world. So our BACDIM wireless portfolio, our Casambi ready products by Tridonic. So yes, we have here Casambi as partner, and we have here a quite big portfolio of products developed by Tridonic and manufactured by Tridonic that go into luminaires up to really components for in-track drivers with wireless integrated, emergency gears with wireless integrated. All those devices can now be connected through, we call it a DALI gateway, where it is really a Bluetooth to DALI gateway. So this device here really translates the Bluetooth signals from the mesh network, so from the Casambi ready BACDIM wireless network. This gateway here translates the commandos and the signals to DALI 2 signals on the DALI line. And then it's really a great feature that then up to, yes, 64 Bluetooth devices, so maximum 1 DALI line can then be used on the sceneCOM Evo system, because the DALI gateway is really translating a Bluetooth device to a DALI short address. So for the sceneCOM Evo, the Bluetooth devices look like then standard DALI devices and also can be handled, processed, commissioned and used like a standard DALI device, which is connected via wires. This device here, the gateway really enables the translation from Bluetooth to DALI 2, what brings then a lot of benefit. Like we're now also working on getting wireless sensors and wireless user interfaces translated. This is not at the moment, this is not available at the moment, but should be available in the next few weeks or months. On this we are working together with Casambi. And for sure, as said, as it's really BACDIM wireless is fully Casambi ready and therefore also compatible with Casambi native products or with other Casambi ready products like Ocean couplers or other Casambi ready drivers and components. Also those even non-Tridonic products can be again matched through a DALI gateway from Bluetooth to a DALI short address, and then we can also use such Bluetooth devices, or we can also connect such Bluetooth devices through the gateway to sceneCOM Evo. And then the big benefit is really for the commissioner, for the installer, for the user. All those devices are mapped to a DALI gateway, and then in the sceneCOM system, you use the same apps, the same tool, the same web interface as it would be a standard DALI converter, which is connected through a wired DALI. That's really a big thing and a big step forward from my point of view. still making or bringing the flexibility of a wireless extension to a DALI system, but still keeping it on an easy to usable level in the same web interface and in the same UI that the commissioner or the partners are anyway used to, even when it's a complete different technology used out there in the background. Okay, and that is really, as said, one of the big benefits about our web interface, that easy to integrate. Doesn't matter if it's DALI 2 sensor from Tridonic or DALI 2 sensor from a third-party DALI 2 compliant vendor or manufacturer, or even doesn't matter now when it's a Casambi ready product from Tridonic, our BACDIM wireless, or a Casambi ready product from another Casambi partner, or a native Casambi device or a luminaire. Through the DALI gateway, you can be connected to sceneCOM Evo, and then you use the one user interface, the web interface on the tablet, on the computer, which you anyway use to set up your sceneCOM Evo system, or to use your sceneCOM Evo system to recall the scenes, do the manual control, central on off. That is then all possible. It doesn't matter what technology is in the background, Bluetooth, DALI gateway, DALI 2, or whatever. You have really one interface that you use to work with your system. That's a very big step forward from my point of view, with really simplifying this integration from different technologies to one system, to one light management system. And again, as promoted before, the easy to monitor. Here I took as an example, because that's very nice to show how, for example, the monitoring of an emergency installation looks like. So it's, again, we can have the emergency luminaires that are connected via DALI lines, or we can also connect now emergency luminaires via Casambi Ready, our BACDIM wireless system. That is now also possible via the DALI gateways, or really wired emergency luminaires, or for refurbishment projects, for example, wireless emergency luminaires or exit signs can be connected. You have then a nice overview site, again, in the web interface, if you have the according access rights. And for all the logging, here's again an example of how the logbook and error book of the emergency reporting looks like. But we have in the system not only the emergency logbook with all the errors, we also have the errors from the DALI side, like was there an error with drivers, were there errors with the LED boards connected to the driver, and also in the future we will have here much more granularity with all the benefits that come now through the DALI 2 D4I data, when you really get there much more information out from the driver. And again, the only thing you need is a computer with a web interface, and the controller can be installed somewhere in the building. As long as the controller is connected to the company network, you can access comfortable from the office or from your desk, and don't need to run to the electric cabinet where the controllers are really mounted. So really, when the controllers are connected to the company network, you access it through your computer via the Ethernet IP connection, or could even do that remote if you have VPN access or whatever, and then really even check from remote the web interface and the status of an installation. Okay, and when we bring all of that together, when we said, yes, sceneCOM Evo controllers per se, as also stated at the beginning, they're quite easy to extend. And what do we as Tridonic understand as extensions? We have on the one side functional extensions. So again, when you, for example, buy today a sceneCOM Evo and you say, sorry, I don't need emergency today, it's no problem when you have then in 2 or 3 years or in 5 years the demand for adding emergency luminaires in your building. You add a software license to the sceneCOM Evo controller. When it's a DALI single battery emergency luminaire, no problem. You just add that functionality in the future or on top with a software license. So really making our system there very, very flexible in regards to what features and functions are needed by when, and how to activate them and how to bring them to the controllers. And what is also very important, that our systems can be extended on the wireless side with DALI 2 devices pretty easy. As said, our system is fully DALI 2 compatible for sensors for push buttons, and therefore it works also. Our system is also compatible with non-Tridonic DALI 2 sensors, like from other vendors, or if you need special sensors for your projects. As long as there's a DALI 2 stamp on it, it should automatically work with our system due to the great benefits now of DALI 2, that sensors and controllers are now, or both needs to be according to the DALI 2 spec, that they work together. And if you have refurbishment projects, for example, or again, you need to add some luminaires in 5 years to an existing installation, to an existing sceneCOM evo installation, can all be done, can be done via wireless if you don't have any DALI wires there. Now with the BACDIM wireless DALI gateway, no problem at all. So perfect fit for refurbishment. And when you want to expand the system, or when you want to connect the system to a BMS system or to IT systems, with the BACnet interface, with the APIs that we have, the lighting control system can also be easily extended into such directions when it's really about big scale installations with BMS, or really high level visualization or integration topics via an API, for example. That's also no problem for sceneCOM evo. Okay, so this was now a lot of words from my side, and yes, product management has also always a lot to do with marketing, and probably some of you think now, yeah, okay, was now a lot of new topics and a lot of blah blah, but is it really true what this guy there is telling me? And for that, yes, we prepared really some reference projects and reference informations. I'm at the moment sorry because I was not allowed to use the real project name there, because the project is still, let's say, under construction, and no, not under construction at the moment, under commissioning. But I'm allowed to say one of the biggest installations we do at the moment with sceneCOM evo is a hospital that is at the moment pulled up, or is pulled up and is at the moment commissioned in Italy. It's quite a big one because the hospital has around 18 floors with a total usable area of around 180,000 square meters. And in that hospital, our partner delivered quite a lot of luminaires into, because I don't have the exact numbers here, but it's for sure more than 10,000 luminaires used in that hospital. Here I can also say we are at the moment on more than 180 sceneCOM controllers that are really used in that hospital building, and we have there nearly 5,000 sensors, presence and daylight sensors in the hospital, and more than 1,000 wall switch couplers from Tridonic are installed in that building. And the cool thing is, it's really about, yes, the couplers and the sensors, all from us. And what is really a highlight for me of this project, why I wanted to highlight that here, in the hospital, we really got in there because we could cover some really cool advanced use cases, because there on the building management side, so the heating, ventilation, and the blinds handling in the patient rooms and for the entire hospital, that is done by a building management system. And for the building owner, or for the state of Italy there, it was very important that they get how it's called, green LEED building certification in, I don't know in which grade, but for them it was very important to really have a single room-based controls automation from HVAC, from lighting on an optimized way. And for that, we are now, for example, sharing the presence information of our 4,500 sensors installed across the hospital to, for example, control the blinds via the BMS. So our DALI presence sensors are going through the sceneCOM evo, through BACnet to the BMS, and then the BMS is controlling the blinds per patient room and per room there in the hospital based on our sensors. And that was a big benefit for the owner or for the end client, because normally Siemens would have installed their sensors in parallel to ours, but yeah, after synchronizing up and bringing that together, that was really one of the key things to bring forward the BACnet integration with the BMS. And also another very important point was for the green building certification that we use here on the more than 10,000 luminaires, our Tridonic Lume data, and therefore D4I data ready drivers, where the energy consumption is coming out of the drivers. This we read out through sceneCOM evo controllers and bring those information about the energy consumption per luminaire. We bring that via an API to again the building management system, and the building management system is then again reporting this back, so that they have, yes, it's reporting that energy information back to the energy management system to really cross-check if the consumption, what the meters have per floor, is that somehow in accordance with what the luminaires are reporting back. And through that, we could really make sure that this hospital gets that LEED Green Building certification. And this reference project I really wanted to show you, because this is now a project we have been working on the last 2 years. It was now being installed from early this year. Yes, and still ongoing with the installation, and the commissioning of the first few floors has just now started. So really just the things I showed you before with DALI 2, with interfacing, with BACnet, it's not something that we have on the roadmap for the next few years or a lot of PowerPoint. No, this is really, those are really things and features that we are actually using already in projects, in quite big projects. So really in real life at Tridonic with our solutions and our components. And for another great reference project, I want to hand over now to Hendrik from WLK, because he prepared an overview about health or healthcare related applications, where Hendrik has prepared one of their really great use cases and success stories, which WLK managed to handle over the last few years. Henrik, I think it's now your turn, right?
Yes. So Humana was an elderly care home, or is an elderly care home, where it was decided to use the circadian rhythm all over the house. We had the benefit to talk with Humana themselves when we designed this, and they indicated their needs and demands for us. And I think it's also important to know that in Sweden we have both governmental and private-owned nursing homes, and this is a private-owned nursing home. And but there's a tough competition between these nursing homes, and many of them put a lot of efforts in designing big private rooms for the older people. In Humana, they did another way. So the private rooms are quite small, but on the other hand, they put a lot of efforts in the public spaces in order to make them as good as possible and make the older people feel at home and want to be in these facilities. In this way also, they were able to save some square meters, which is a huge cost for these elderly care companies. As I said before, it was decided to have circadian rhythm in the house, in the complete house. And actually, they created an own circadian rhythm for each person living here. And I will explain later on why we did it and how we did it. But also I want to say that 2017, this project won a prize, the best installation in 2017 in Sweden. And the jury motivated this, that this is a project where you have really considered the needs of the inhabitants in the place. And I will not read through all the points here, but you can read it through later on. But here on the right side, you see, for example, the beds in each patient room. This must be probably one of the most expensive beds ever. It has an inbuilt tunable white lighting, and also there's 2 DALI sensors underneath the bed. And this bed came out of the request from Humana because we had a meeting with them, and one of the biggest problems they had was that people are waking up in the middle of the night. It's completely dark and they need to go to the toilet. On the way to the toilet, these are old people, they fall and break their pelvis. And of course, then they need to go to the hospital, and the room is empty for a couple of months until they can come back. And since this is a privately owned facility, and the patient's fee is €170 a day, they can easily calculate how much this costs for the company. So the result of that was that €30,000 per broken pelvis is the cost. So they approached us and asked us, how can we solve this? We need to get these accidents down. And the solution was to place 2 sensors underneath the bed, and as soon as the patient wakes up and puts his or her feet on the ground, the system reacts and ignites a light to the toilet so that they can see properly on their way to the toilet. In addition, it triggers an alarm to the nurse so that she knows that someone is up in this room. And after this has been implemented, the accidents went down drastically. So it was a win-win situation. Another aspect, of course, in privately owned nursing homes is cost of labor. Has a huge impact. And in this system, we designed a circadian rhythm for every different patient. So every morning, the light starts going on, automatically waking up the patient. And it does that in different times. So in normal circumstances, you would wake up all the patients at 7 o'clock or something like that. And you need quite a lot of staff to take care of them. But by waking up one patient at a time, they could reduce the staff a lot during this morning period. So head cost of nurse staff is €40,000 per year in Sweden. Also, these facilities, this was Humana Gävle was the first one, but after that we have built 5 more, and they are all located more or less in the middle of the city. And of course, you know, cost per square meter is an important factor in these homes. So what we do now is to monitor how the spaces are used in order to take away those areas that are not used, and in that way also Humana can save more money. Also, by trying to give the best possible lighting and comfortability in the facilities, I think the average time they spend there is 4.5 years. But by improving the facilities, make the open areas nice, and making old people interact with each other, they have also managed to increase the time people are spending there. So I guess if you're social and have a lot of events and socialize with other people, it means that you live longer. I don't know, but that's the case anyway. So all these aspects were considered in this project, and also I wanted to bring this up because in many cases when you get people or news talk about elderly care, it's always mistreatment and bad news. And this is an example where Humana went the other way around, and okay, they spent some more money on the lighting, but there was a business case behind, and in the end both Humana made more money, and the older people had a better place to stay. So that's a nice story. But if you want more information about this, you're welcome to contact me or any WLK salesperson. We can tell you more about this project. Okay, that was it. And now it's time for questions and answers. And I hand over to Peter, who will take care of those questions and answers. Thank you.
So thanks a lot, Henrik, and also a big thank you to Andreas Müller, who joined this session today. We have got a lot of questions through the webinar, and we've extracted a few ones. So we'll start from top here and spend some time on that. We're kind of a bit over time here, but we scratched through it pretty quick. So question number one is from Finland. And the question is, how can you control the lighting with wired and wireless LED drivers? And how do you configure the wireless input devices? Andreas, can you help that?
Yes, for sure. I mean, as showed before on the slide in the presentation before, how we bring the wireless and the DALI 2 world together is that BACDIM wireless DALI gateway in between. That gateway is then really translating from the BACDIM wireless Bluetooth world to DALI 2. And yes, with that you have then the big benefit that in the sceneCOM Evo controller you use the standard web interface, the routines, the features, the functionality, which is there. And yes, all the commissioning, all the setup, all the automation routines, that is handled, and that is all done in sceneCOM Evo. And yes, that's the way how we handle, how we bring those worlds together, the wired and the wireless world. The key thing there is really that DALI gateway, which is bridging from Bluetooth to DALI 2 addresses.
Right. And my understanding, you may correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is also that wireless input device, such as an input switch coming from the wireless side, will show up as an input device on the DALI side. So it really looks the same as a wired input device as a wireless input device.
Yes, on that we are actually working. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to come on that point here.
Okay, question number two is picked from Denmark. How do you build the structure in the controller software?
The structure of the devices, I guess. So I think okay. From the routines or from the logic, we try to follow their, let's say, also building structure. Like when you start in the commissioning, I mean, we can only identify the luminaires, the sensors, the devices in the field, and we start with that as the basic thing. Like we identify the devices can be put together into groups if wanted. The groups can be put together into a room, and if you want, you can also put the groups then into, put the rooms into zones, for example. So really, we want to try to follow a bit the building hierarchy with a bigger zone that could be a floor or an open space office. In there, we can divide it into rooms. In the room, we put the groups, and in the group, you have the single devices, the luminaires, the sensors. And with this, let's say, structure and hierarchy, you can do then the controls and the automation.
Okay. I hope that answered the question to the participant who asked that one. The third one is from Sweden, and this is more of an engineering question, maybe. If a customer wants a light switch where you can, so to speak, buy light for 15 minutes, you may have that in an industry hall or maybe in a darker area during night. So the security guard, for example, he wants to push it and get light for 15 minutes. How would you do that? Is it easy to create such a function?
Yes, that is pretty easy. When you want to really have, let's say, an override or just a light switch that says, okay, if that button is pressed, it should go to, what was it, 15 minutes, 100%. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, that I think easiest way would be with a show, so that you really create a show in the system, like one of that dynamic scenes I showed you, because you can really say in that group or in that zone. So, for example, the security guard goes into the warehouse or into the production site, then it's really the zone, entire production site is addressed or is controlled. The show defines then, okay, in that production site, all luminaires should go to 100%. Doesn't matter what the automation or whatever is saying, because it's really, let's say, a manual override. And this can then be assigned to a switch plate. And then the controller really knows, as soon as that button is pressed, the timer starts, all lights go up to full brightness, 100% in the warehouse or in the production hall. The guard can walk through, and if he walks out, automatically after 15 minutes, it will go back to the, let's say, standard automation, which could be a calendar or sensor or whatever. But that is then really, let's say, kind of an override function for that defined time. That is possible, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, we have a fourth question here. It's now when we're building a bigger cluster with 5 controllers. If we now want to have a burglar alarm, for example, so when we put on the burglar alarm in the night, we want one lighting scene, and when we come in the morning, we turn off the burglar alarm, and then we want a welcome scene or morning scene. How would you connect that, an external burglar alarm, to the system?
An external burglar alarm. Okay, I mean, there would also be some ways via BACnet or whatever, but I think the most simplest way would be kind of similar like what I said before, with the push button that is then going to full illumination level. The same could be when you take one of our small devices and don't connect the push button plate to that DALI XC Gen 3 is the device name. So that's really an input translator, which has 4 digital inputs, 4 dry contacts that are translated to DALI 2 commandos. And the big benefit of that device, in combination with the sceneCOM Evo system, yes, the standard use case are push buttons or switch plates to connect to that couplers, to the DALI 2 devices. But you could also connect like a dry contact from a burglar alarm or a fire system or something. Like, okay, if the fire system detects smoke or whatever, or a window is broken, the burglar alarm goes on alarm, is closing the contact to our system, and then it's again the same logic like before. You set up a show or a scene, and if that input is triggered, it just activates the scene or the show that says, okay, the entire building should go to 100% or start flashing or whatever. But that can be done the same way with that combination of our DALI 2 input device coupler, the DALI XC Gen 3. Yeah, that's
okay.
That should also be easily possible. Yeah.
Okay, we have one more question, and it's more of a question if you think of nothing else than like to do 2 controllers, and you like to do daylight sensors to control 250 luminaires. What would you need to do that from Tridonic?
For 250 luminaires daylight control. Okay, I mean, as learned before, then you need at least, you need then 2 controllers, because for 250 luminaires, you address you need more addresses than available on one controller. So that would mean at least 2 sceneCOM evo controllers. Yes, the controllers need to be linked together via network. So you need a switch, router, company network, however it looks like then on site to link the controllers together via Ethernet IP. The computer or the tablet to access it, the web interface. That's the hardware setup. And the daylight-based control, you said.
Yes.
Yes, then some daylight sensors. Our perfect DALI M sensor Gen 3, hopefully.
Of course.
Of course. And yes, for sure you need then the apps. So the extension apps for the controllers, because I showed before in the overview the daylight feature, that is one of the extensions, and as the two controllers need to be linked together, that would be we call it the CL app, so the controller linking, the basic license. So you need the basic license to link the controller together, and then on top of the linked controller you add then the daylight app. So that are then, let's say, two license codes that need to be ordered and put in.
Right.
And then the daylight, and then the sensors and the luminaires can be commissioned and set up a normal way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. And it's actually about upgrading. This seems to be somebody has been working with sceneCOM before with a large and XL controllers. Is it possible to upgrade those to the evo level software? And can you use those together with a new evo controller?
The predecessors, the sceneCOM L, XL, to upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. The large and the XL. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I mean in general it's possible to upgrade the features, the functionality from the predecessors, from the sceneCOM L, XL to sceneCOM evo capabilities and features. There's only a big but, and that is the DALI 2 compliance. Because as I told, now lengthy sceneCOM evo is DALI 2 compliant, and the predecessors, the sceneCOM L, XL, they are not DALI 2 compliant. So we really had to do some hardware adjustments. Background, long story short, we had there some topics with the integrated DALI power supply, which we had to change so that the sceneCOM evo is DALI 2 compliant. And that is at the moment really the only difference. So software features, functionality, it is fully backward compatible. So sceneCOM evo software can also be installed on sceneCOM L, XL, the old ones. And yes, they can also be used in the same linking mode, in the controller linking mode. They can also be put together. But it's very important that the sceneCOM L, XL hardware, it is not a DALI 2 hardware. So for example, you cannot connect DALI 2 sensors to a sceneCOM L and XL. This is not possible due to hardware reasons of the old hardware. Because with the power supply, we also have on sceneCOM evo a bit smaller power supply to be really DALI 2 compliant. But that are then details when it really comes to a project. Then I think it needs to be in the planning, and for replacement, it's a very important detail that we have the really differences in the hardware, but on features and functionality level, sceneCOM evo is really fully backward compatible, also with L and XL, and the L and XL existing installations also can be updated to sceneCOM evo functionality. Okay.
Yeah, I think we have to end there with the question and answers. Thanks you a lot, Andreas, for the direct answers here, and thank you all participants for all your questions you put in. We will follow up and come back to you with answers after the webinar. The webinar is recorded and will also be available, and we will send also the presentation as a PDF to you who attended. So thanks a lot for today, and hope to be back soon. And don't forget to contact us if you have any questions after the webinar. And you may use our support mail, support@wlk.eu. Thanks a lot, and see you later.
Thank you. Goodbye.